Om Namo Bhagavate Narasimhaya. Namaste Tejase Aviravirbhava Vajranaka Vajradamshtra Karma Sayarantaya Tamo Grasa Grasa Om Swaha Abhaya Abhayatmani Burishta Om Shrom.
So let's continue with the spiritual rebirth. Now we are going to talk about implants, etheric implants. So practically everyone has them in some degree, and especially those who are on a spiritual path and on a spiritual journey. As I said, spirituality is the battlefield where either they stop the spiritual practices, they corrupt the spiritual environments, or the vibration goes higher and higher and their power goes lower and lower. They know that, they work ceaselessly for that, some of the worst demons are on the spiritual fields. They are very specialized in that, and they work tirelessly because they know what's about. Spiritual seekers, not so much. And this is why spiritual rebirth is a need. Implants are a technology that imitates the behaviors, the modus operandi of demons, from seduction to attacks. So you can take up all of this that I'm going to talk about, and it can be either implants or demons. So from seduction to attacks, even from low attacks, low intensity, to high level attacks. So they are a physical technology, sometimes installed in the physical body, but more commonly in the etheric body, in the energetic body. Installed in the subtle bodies. As they are technology, they are always evolving like our technology, just way ahead. And it is difficult to keep up, and that's not the purpose either. Because knowing what it is enough. Because if you dive too much in the information, there's a lot of things, a lot of good information, a lot of bad information that's just someone making it up. And there are things that are really beyond your imagination, and they are real. And this will fill you with fear, and that's not the purpose. Knowing it is there is enough. And as you go through the spiritual rebirth, it will be dealt with also in the deep purification. Implants are a reality in the illusory world, of course, where most people live. Those who haven't realized the self, those who haven't realized God, this is their reality. So it doesn't matter if you say, oh, but this is duality, so I only seek oneness, so this for me is not real. Good, but the rest it is. Your habits, daily habits, I'm not going to that now. But this kind of mentality, it's good, but it doesn't really work, because this is hijacking the physical body, your mind, your energy, your emotions, everything. Even for those who are sensitive, it is easier to see manifestations of implants than manifestations of demons themselves, because they use the camouflage, the implants, to camouflage themselves. It is technology. So as it is technology, it's like, it doesn't matter how sensitive you are. You lost your cell phone, you try to feel it with your subtle body, and you cannot grasp it. It is physical technology. It is a technology. It is the same. Demons you can track, you can sense. Other manifestations of energy in the astral planes you can sense, you can grasp, but not implants, technology. So they are placed for different reasons at different moments for taking over the temple of the body and of the spirit. Starting from the beginning, well, if you're in the beginning of your spiritual path, because most of the time this life you are living is just a succession of many others. And these implants or demons, they go through you, with you, incarnation after incarnation until removed. Because they are usually attached to the subtle body. Only the physical body dies, the rest continues. So probably many of you were dealing with this in the prior births also. So demons are predatory beings. They need prey. But as they cannot go to the prey directly, because the prey is protected, they need to bring the person to them. And this happens through sin that breaks the aura of divine protection. So at the initial stage, implants are the first approach. They are a more sophisticated form of temptation, as they exacerbate all your tendencies to sin. As soon as you sin, you get closer to the demons. So they use all the materials you have there, your desires, your characteristics, all of that, and your fears, attachments, and they exacerbate everything to make you act, to make you sin, to bring you closer. It's like a fisherman. He throws the hook with the bait. He doesn't force the fish to bite. He just makes it attractive enough for you to bite. But in this case, it can push a little bit harder than the bait. So, here then there are several ramifications from temptation, that is, the forcing of giving into temptation, which is the majority of cases. They are forcing you, pushing you to act on the temptation, not only bringing the temptation from your outside and stimulating your desire for it from the inside and pushing you to act. Here then there are several ramifications. Okay, I already read this. So, temptation is man's companion because it is where he makes the decision of following the devil or the angel. Remember that expression? Well, it's not just an expression. Going to the demon, because the demon takes to his Lord, to his master, and following the angel, which he will take you also to his Lord, to his master. Even in specific cases, such people who want to follow a spiritual path or even to test technology take the person to the limit through all types of attacks. Through the implants, they can enter your thoughts, emotions, and sensations, creating realities for you because they happen inside of you where there is only you supposedly, destroying your sanity, forcing you to take steps you wouldn't take otherwise. So there are many people, sometimes test technology, sometimes it's just to make you scared or with different agendas. A lot of things can happen. But many times, not only people in spirituality, but other people, they get tormented for whatever reason and take to the extreme. And in spiritual aspirants, those who are trying to move seriously on the spiritual path, it also happens. And they can have access to everything which is inside, what you call inside there. Your mind, your emotions, the sensations of the body, even the physical part. They can access everything through these technologies. And for you, it will be your inner reality because you will not expect that there's something there intruding. There's now it came to my mind that many of you will think, oh, this is too much, this is crazy. But I remembered an example. There's a wasp. There's a wasp that puts his eggs on another insect, and then the eggs, they have access to the mind of the host, and they use the host to do their bidding. It creates like a zombie kind of bug. Nature is complicated. I don't know if this was the inspiration or not, but an example, there is a common one, which is to place an implant on the back of the head next to the reptilian brain. And whenever the vibration, your vibration through your spiritual practices rises to a danger level, a level that, well, they start losing their power over you, the implant activates and blocks the energy there, then activates fear, and if necessary, stimulates your reptilian brain so that you enter to that crazy mode of attack or run. Usually it is run because you don't have an enemy. And if you do, you will attack him. But it's because of that. In the second phase, they serve as a gateway. Monitoring, gateway for demons, for monitoring, controlling behavior, or to hide the entry and the presence of demons. We'll see more below. They also serve to get closer to more serious seekers who are a threat, and if they are unable to do so directly, so a serious seeker intents practices, his energy is rising, they cannot access him to make him fall down, so they use implants to break his energy, to bring fear, whatever, to bring that vibration down, so that either they can enter or that the person gives up of those intense practices. Many struggle with this problem consciously, and they know that they are difficult to remove, and even if they are removed, they return, and this is due to existing rights of those who placed them, the demons. The law of free will should not be violated under great pains. That is why demons use technology to bring you to them. It is not possession. And in the end, it's your decision. Implants use existing impurities in you, exacerbate or damage existing structures, all with the purpose of making you sin. And in the end, it is you who decides, and it becomes your decision, the use of your free will, and goes to your account. Since it is your decision, it doesn't go against the universal law of free will. So even for a spiritual seeker, under attack, running away, give up spirituality, go to a worldly life, this is an offense. This is an offense and gives a right to demons. And you can say a lot, but the stories of the saints and sages are filled with stories of suffering, renunciation, persecution, difficulties, and they endure. Why can't you? Remembering that these predatory entities exploit this principle, feeding on heavy energies, negative energies, fear, anger, sadness, discouragement, self-pity, and the more sordid, the better. Not only that, but they also feed on pleasure, on the ectoplasm that is created when you are having what you call pleasure, that it isn't, but what you call. All types, drugs, addictions, sex, all these things. And the more sordid, the better for them. So if you make researchings about this topic, your mind will, it will be too much for some of you. you will see many things that they are difficult to believe, some because they are not real, others because it's too far away from your conception, and probably you will get more scared. So the advice is know that it exists, focus on your spiritual practices, spiritual rebirth to remove them, for you to have a new destiny, which is to reach God exclusively. And don't worry about the rest. This is the advice. But some of you need to know things, and you will find a lot of things. To be able to discern, that is a difficulty. First of all, where there are implants, there are demons behind them, with access or even without direct access, but they are there. Some say that there are other beings that put these implants. Yes, but behind those beings, there are demons. Have no doubt of this. So forget the middleman. So the removal of the implants and their owners, the demonic entities, is contemplated and takes place on the spiritual rebirth. They are technical devices. Unlike entities, they can't be felt energetically if present locally. This is technology. It cannot be felt that way. Some mediums can see it, but you can see it in the symptoms. The symptoms, you will be able to see it. And probably you got used to the symptoms, but these things, they come and go in a very strange way. They are patterns that they are not normal. And if you are paying attention, you will see these changes, these shifts in your state. So what we will talk about next is very useful to understand if there are implants or demons there. Because symptoms are very similar, because it imitates the behavior of demons and their work. So they facilitate access to the person, facilitate to the demons, access to the person, and then do the work that the demons will have to do there presently, without being there presently. Only coming at very specific moments, the marvels of technology. Etheric implants, parasites, astral parasites, and all sorts of... Most of people have them in one form or another. And this is especially true, again, for those who are in the spiritual path. They can be debilitating physically, emotionally, and spiritually because they reduce energetic vibrations. They can affect health, emotions, thoughts, and even higher self-guidance. They can hijack the natural state of being on all levels of mind, body, and spirit. This is one of the reasons why I mentioned in other series, before I talked about any of these subjects, because I never did, that even what you call intuition is not trustworthy. Because of this reason, and also because what I normally just say was that, and it is like this, that intuition is conditioned to your world, to your level of consciousness. It doesn't move beyond that, and it's still a slow process. Guidance, it's something beyond, very different. But also because of this reason, everything inside you can be hijacked. For the demons, you boil down to being food, one, or an instrument. They destroy you over time, create misery in you and around you, and they feed on that. And as they are creating misery around you, they move to the others that you are creating misery, if that is intense enough for that, and to propagate their agenda. Two purposes, more or less. And this happens a lot in spirituality, but also in everything else, because everything is spiritual. And if worldly people are best for them because they are the majority and they are easy to influence, to hijack, and they serve as examples for the others, and they serve as a collective net of consciousness that pulls all down. So they are precious for them. If you feel you have demons and they are not attacking you, destroying your life, then you are an instrument for them. You're serving their agenda, and that is even worse. Either it is through promiscuity, where you facilitate direct access of demons to other persons by sexual intercourse, or if you use power to generate suffering in those who are around you. In some way, you are serving your masters well, because if you're not, violent attacks begin. Demons are astral parasites. They feed on suffering, your suffering. All types of suffering, physical, emotional, mental. These sufferings become intense negative energies that accumulate, and these etheric parasites attach themselves to this condensed emotional energy that is no longer flowing and feeds on the dense, dark energy created as a result of these blockages. They use it for food and fuel, and have developed some interesting ways to ensure they grow even larger. So these intense negative energies serve as food for these beings. They destroy you, cause you suffering, that brings you more of these negative feelings, and they continue to prosper. Dense beings need a lot of energy to continue in the astral underworld and escape the law of evolution. They look for these energies in all possible places and situations. Cigarettes, smokes, in ether of alcoholic beverage, in our negative feelings, hatred, anger, hurt, resentment, prejudice, sadness, melancholy. In the energy released by sexual relations that explore the dense sides of sexuality. Promiscuous relationships, etc., they are the most natural sources, so to speak, where these beings seek energy to sustain themselves. So what is, for those who may be wondering, what is this exploration of the dense parts of sexuality? So when the sexual relationship is not about making love, it's not about a love, an extension of love. When there is instrumentalization of the other in some way, when, for example, a couple knows itself, finds attractive one another, start going out, then they have sexual intercourse. This is how it goes these days. The old days was different. And first is passion, and then after a while it starts to evolve. Passion goes down because the loving relationship has to come. So when this is not coming, they go through this passion and go lower and lower, exploring fantasies and things like that. And this has to go lower and lower because the normal parts, the normal desire is not there, is not coming. So they need to stimulate this. And this is not about the other, it's about the person himself feeling that pleasure. But usually, sometimes, they are the implants and they are the demons, sucking your life energy, forcing you to throw that energy out and feeding on it and drying you up. This is what Jesus said in the gospel. Those who go to houses of prostitution, then their energy is drained. They become like how did he said? Like dry trees, something like that. Because it's being sucked, drained. So this is the demons, and the implants are also a form of extraction of energy, your vitality. It drains your vitality. There are different models and formats of chips, each with a purpose, a way of acting, and its own place to be implanted. Such implants serve to manipulate people, making them vibrate always and increasingly in the feelings that generate the energies that they need. Hatred, loss of value, resentment, hurt, sexual promiscuity, addictions, drugs, cigarettes, alcohol, sugar, other drugs like this. With such a chip implanted in the body, the person starts to have the most diverse negative and destructive thoughts, behaviors different from those they would normally have in everyday situation, loss of critical sense, blindness and deafness to obvious facts, all according to with the objectives of the implant. So the implant takes care, takes over, and do whatever he wants or whatever is wanted. Implants are often installed close to energy centers, the main chakras, like the third eye, and are also the reason why many people experience headaches when they try to meditate. Not only in spirituality, also in worldly life. Many times there is these headaches, intense headaches, so that it makes your life a hell, and the life around you a hell also, leading you into depression, and they feed on. So I'm not saying that all that have diseases and headaches and depressions and all of that have implants or demons. Probably they have, but not saying that it is because of that. Because like I said, common people, usually they do the work from themselves, through their lifestyle, through the choices they are making according to their values, worldly values. They are doing that work for themselves. Sometimes it is because of implants. Other times, people is doing that to themselves. So you need to observe and understand what is happening. Is it the problems from the values? Or is it so this shift in behavior is a sign, or the shift in the intensity of the behaviors. So these implants not only lower your vibration, but they drain your energy to be absorbed by these dark entities. They also serve to camouflage demons so that those who are sensitive cannot see them. And they can only move and go out and come back with these implants and gates that they have. They make you tense internally and emit energy, which by lowering you the vibration makes you accessible to entities. They disturb your energetic field, creating breaks. This affects your mood, affects everything in you. And you start getting depressive or nervous, agitated, irritated, and this takes your life into a different direction. These implants emit, They also function as a receiver transmitter that receives information and acts according to the way you position yourself. It is an intelligent mechanism. There are a multitude of etheric implants that vary in shape, size, and purpose, and new ones are always discovered. So now let's see some purposes for the usage of these implants. To influence thoughts, emotions, speech, and actions. Vibrational frequency reduction. To generate disease. To cause physical pain. To extract your energy. Restrict spiritual progress, of course. Control of bodily functions. stimulate the muscular system, surveillance, and audible voice transmissions. Etheric implants use your life force to sustain, for sustenance. Implants not only lower your frequency, but they also extract energy from your aura, which can be harnessed and consumed by evil entities. So they block the energy, change of frequency in the exact area of the etheric body where they are placed, and lower the overall vibration frequency of the host. They can be detected by some mediums. Those who have this vision, they can see. Not all of them, some of them can. But it can be perceived through the symptoms it generates. Or those who are strong in their work, in their spiritual path, may see drastic changes in thoughts, emotions, attractions, repulsions, and through the force of free will, act to break to control of these devices. So those who have intense practices, who are in the serious way in their spiritual paths, who have been observing their minds, their emotions, if they are implanted, some of them can perceive that their mind is being tempered, emotions are being tempered, because there's a drastic change. For the majority, this is very subtle. For them, this will be drastic change. And through the free will, through their personal power, they can break it. But very few have this strength. These devices are less of a problem for those that operate at a low vibration frequency, well, because they are doing it themselves, with themselves already what the implants would do. So, and as they are in low vibration, they don't have subtle perception, so they will not notice them. Some surveil and clone the host's thoughts, then merge them with emotions, creating thought loops that bombard the host, who mistakes these thoughts for his own thoughts and eventually acts on them. He doesn't know that thoughts are coming in, so thoughts are being put inside with emotions, everything there, you think it is yours and you act on it. The implant silently learns and evaluates the host's unique thought pattern. First, it sends cloned verbal phrases to the brain, which the host assumes as its own inner voice. Over a period of time, the parasite trains the host to accept the cloned thought projections and false inner voice as its own. It actually works because the host is unaware that the parasite is there, that can exist, that it is possible. And these thoughts are enriched with negative emotions, images, and sounds, with which the host identifies his own afflictions, certain important circumstances for him, situations, people, his fears, his attachments. All of this is used by the implants and the demons, of course. The parasite's verbal comment sounds exactly like the inner voice. Some symptoms of these devices can be felt in the physical body, such as pain, blockages, throbbing, stiffness, headaches, and fatigue. They weaken, undermining your defenses and bringing discouragement, depression, anxiety, nightmares, illnesses, energy imbalance, inducing you to repeat destructive behaviors or depleting your energy. So again, not saying that those who have depression, anxiety, and all these things have implants or demons. Probably they have, at least implants. But like I said, your normal life with your lifestyle is enough. So for depression, anxiety, and all those things that are abundant at this moment, what I'm saying that this can be a symptom of implant or demons. headaches and throbbing when they start meditating, for example. Negative emotions, dizziness, confusion, strangeness, disorientation, erasing short-term memory, and audible voices. There are also attacks at a distance that harm you physically. I will not go much into this, but this is not so common, and is for example, in a spiritual seeker which is strong and they cannot access him from some other angle and they want to lower his vibration, they can use these violent physical attacks to create this, or because they are angry and they cannot reach you and they are revolted, so they just want to hurt you some way. But this cannot last long, normally. Keeping you in constant physical, mental, and emotional pain is to distract you from their real agendas. And their agendas are to have access to you, of course, to associate experiences of pain with certain contexts, like spiritual seekers, to associate spiritual practice with painful experiences, to suppress, remove, prevent you from fulfilling your soul purpose, of course, because this goes against their agenda. So this is the biggest priority for them. Make it impossible for you to use your mind effectively. Make subtle emotions impossible, keeping you generation food, negativity, density. Making it impossible for you to use your mind effectively. Make subtle emotions impossible, making you generating food, negativity, density, and not devotion, divine love. Preventing you from meeting true masters and spiritual teachers, preventing contact with the soul, to prevent or distract your spiritual journey, because spiritual seekers are a threat, like I've explained, and of course to prevent spiritual enlightenment, God realization. The more serious seekers there are, the more the collective vibration rises and the less strength demons have, and the reverse applies. The implants and their owners hijack your bodies and lives. The soul becomes a prisoner in a way, continue incarnation after incarnation, until you turn to God in the right way. So incarnation after incarnation, because this is at the subtle body, and only the physical body dies. Anxiety and depression. This has many causes, but can be a symptom of these implants. Again, not everybody that has anxiety and depression is because of demons or implants. Seeing life regress, feeling your energy drained and exhausted, feel your internal defenses being broken without knowing how or why, will bring discomfort, discouragement, anxiety, and consequent depression for some. Problems with sleep are a big sign of negative influence of implants and their owners. Difficulty resting, restless, superficial sleep, nightmares, fear of sleeping because of nightmares. Many people have fear to go to sleep because it's so intense. The nightmares, the negativities, demons, tortures, all kinds of scenarios that scare people. This is also a symptom. Thoughts that invade your mind, this happens collectively, not just through implants, yes, and can be observed in meditation for some. But in specific cases, imagine that you are used to a pattern of thoughts that you classify as normal, and out of nowhere your mind is invaded by negative thoughts about death, hatred towards someone, or against yourself, things that are abnormal for you and in different intensities. So it can be, you can have them, but it becomes very intense. Drastic drops in energy. and general mood are a symptom, as one of the purpose of implants is to steal your energy. And without energy, everything goes downhill, and diseases find fertile ground in someone without energy, without vitality, and or the specific demons that generate diseases can begin their work. So implants also prepare for these demons that create diseases, so that when the vibration is very low and there's a lot of negativity, they can eventually enter and start destroying the body. Unexplained illnesses or symptoms may be symptoms of implants. Modern life with so many poisons creates chaos in the body, and it becomes difficult to understand what comes from where. But nausea without any other cause, sudden headaches with no apparent cause, shortness of breath, burning sensation in some parts of the body, lack of appetite, then you go to the doctor and nothing is found. It could be a sign of a type of obsession, either through implants or demons. Starting to be afraid of everything that creates isolation and ends a person's life without an explanation when before it was normal. Fear makes prisoners. In this case, the prisoner ends up giving its life and becomes food for these beings. So I took an anonymous testimonial from the internet to clarify this. So if you are seeing this and this is your testimony, I picked it up from the internet where you posted it anonymously. And so I imagine that it is okay. And it's not revealing in any way. So I brought it because it's a testimonial which is very good, very clarifying. I recognize many of these techniques, and I've seen this in many different ways, in many different situations. So for you to have an understanding, there's a whole community that suffers with this. Many people suffer with this. They are engaged in what they can. So this person also is someone who knows a lot about it, has studied a lot, has learned in herself, and this testimony is for you to have a vision. Some of you will identify certain things, others not. Well, I described feeling a dull sensation on the top of my head, along with a headache, which prevents me from thinking properly. There is also a pulsation just below my solar plexus. When I'm hit with a dizzying headache, I notice a constant ringing in my ears, the bombardment of unpleasant visual and auditory thought loops, various types of physical pain. The physical pain includes a rotation of the feeling of needles stuck all over my skin and eyeballs, warming up my entire body, dull and persistent pain in the solar plexus and abdominal regions. A voice that sounds like mine, a false inner voice, is sent to the auditory and verbal speech processing centers of my brain. For years I was fooled into thinking it was my voice. I can now detect those intrusions frequently. I realize that only one voice can occupy this part of my brain at the same time. So when talking to myself, I'm often interrupted by the false inner voice. It invades this area of my brain with force, trampling on my own inner speech. Usually the imposition is just a short sentence. Boom. After which I can continue talking to myself. I'm currently using a combination of deal cancelling, breathing energy movements, concentration, and visualization to remove the blocks I'm aware of. When reading and talking about contract cancellations, my eyes and throat burn. So these contract cancellations are some things that are used to remove these implants, but if it's not understood that it is the sins that gives rights to the demons and so forth with the implants, then They are taken out and they come back, and the person spends years and years like this, or even a lifetime or lifetimes. So negative thoughts, and this, my eyes and throat burn when she's reading those contract cancellations. And you will experience some symptoms, so that it stops when you are reading the prayers and doing the practices from the spiritual rebirth, so that you stop that. This is defense mechanisms. There are multiple negative thought cycles include audible speech as well as 2D still and moving images with destructive emotions being thrown into my mind. I have already listened to this many times. There are multiple voices that some intrusive surveillance devices can evoke. One has the characteristics of a psychopath. If the device had a mind and voice of its own, that would be it. The voice makes critical mocking comments. This mocking comment, this mocking is common for demons. It's like a signature mark. The device also stimulates a false inner voice in my brain's auditory processing center. Then, using the false inner voice, he talks to its own psychopathic voice, creates a dialogue in the mind. Here is a common scenario. A negative comment made with the false inner voice registers in the auditory processing part of my brain. Then the device uses its own psychopathic voice to criticize the comment. This is also very common. The devices can also imitate other people's voices, while 2D still and moving images of those people are projecting into my mind. Specific thoughts within a thought cycle are followed by pulses of negative emotions, which are usually disgust and anger. Here's a frequent attack pattern. Transmission of a negative image or auditory phrase, muscle stimulation, and then a pulse of disgust and anger. This attack also appears to be a form of communication. And this disgust and anger, then the person either sends this anger in person or at a distance, feels this and then goes and blah, blah, sends it all for someone else. This attack also appears to be a form of communication. Similar to a physical push, muscle stimulation appears to be designed to let you know you are being attacked and perhaps provoke you. Not only to provoke you, but for you to know that you're being attacked so that you can feel helpless, so that you don't find a way out, so that your fear increases and they can get closer to you. My short-term memory is often erased seconds after I learn or do something. Then a reminder is sent in the form of an image or an audible voice, which is quickly followed by a muscle stimulation and negative emotions. A variation of this includes bombarding my mind with images so that I can't remember what I was doing, and then interrupting the attack and sending an idea representing what I forgot. Again, this is followed by muscle stimulation and disgust and anger. And this is about messing with your mind to the point that you lose all your marbles. So removal of implants and entities. Where an implant exists, there are entities there, hidden behind the curtain. These also must be removed, of course. And of course, they will resist. Those who are on the serious spiritual journey, who have intense meditation practices, are able to maintain a high vibration where even if these devices are present, they will not dominate you. However, for these, subtle temptation is dangerous, and it is where many get lost. Therefore, there needs to be responsibility and take it very seriously, not giving loopholes that will be immediately used by these beings. As soon as your vibration drops, if you don't recover, the dizzying fall into a bottomless pool begins. This subtle temptation, I've seen this many times, when the seeker is serious and try intensely to follow. First, what comes is temptation, usually. It comes a temptation of something that you wanted extremely bad before starting a spiritual journey or abandon worldly life. Then that comes intensely, seducing. And if by any chance you have the complex of being special, of the special one, and your pride is high, many times this will drag you straight away directly. If it doesn't, then intense attacks, and they continue intense almost non-stop because you're giving in, you're pushing, but then breaking, then coming strong and breaking. So it continues over and over again. And then comes temptation at the same time. And mind flows where it's easy. And many get lost like this. This is not a play. So if you want to guarantee that God realization is possible for you, you must go beyond this. But here in the spiritual rebirth, the removal of implants is also contemplated in the first 40 days. Okay.
Om Namo Bhagavate Narasimhaya. Namaste Tejase Aviravirbhava Vajranaka Vajradamstra Karma Sayarantaya Tamo Grasa Om Swaha Abhaya Atmani Burishta Om Shro